Hello, everyone. While scouring the news sites for a story, I eventually came upon a very jarring display of racism by one of the most notable cities in the United States. NYC, Department of Education, individualism is white supremacy culture. But because it's Breitbart, I figured I'd go to the source they linked in the very first sentence and proceed from there because holy shit, it's more candid about how fucking stupid this idea is on the New York Post. Richard Carranza held white supremacy culture training for school admins. City Department of Education brass are targeting a white supremacy culture among school administrators by disparaging ideas like individualism, objectivity, and worship of the written word, the Post has learned. A presentation slide obtained by the Post offers a bullet point description of the systemic, supposedly pro-white favoritism that school's Chancellor Richard Carranza claims must be eradicated from the DOE, and provides just one insight into his anti-bias training efforts. Now, I have the image here, but as you can see, the individual points are hard to read, so we're going to get into them a little later when I enumerate each one. The seminar is concurrent with Carranza's larger push to root out implicit bias in the school system, an effort that some veteran DOE members blasted as creating a view of toxic whiteness, detailed in a front page story on Sunday's Post. The training is not focused on white supremacy and white privilege, Carranza said after a city council budget hearing on Monday, referring to his larger campaign. It's about what our biases are and how we will work with them. Carranza is that kind of kid in high school who is like, hey man, tell me your problems, don't worry, I got you. And then the next day you find out everyone knows why you were upset or crying or whatever. Basically, he's a piece of shit liar. You can't call out tenets of white supremacy with topics like perfectionism, paternalism, objectivity, and individualism without being racist. Now let's be frank, there are only certain ways you can push the idea of identity politics without going after straight white men, because if it's against straight white men, it's not wrong, because, power plus privilege. The DOE did not immediately respond to a request for comment about the materials used for the administrator's training, but one advisor said that if the program's frankness is making people uncomfortable, that's because it's working. Quote, it requires discomfort, said Matt Gonzalez, who serves as an outside advisor on the DOE's School Diversity Task Force and is a director of New York Appleseed, an advocacy group for school integration. Having to talk about someone's own whiteness is a requirement for them to become liberated. Liberated from what? Because the only people I see oppressing people, and I mean the actual meaning of the word, is regressive left-wingers who judge people's worth based on the color of their skin. That objectivity and individualism is in fact a trait of white supremacy, so what really is there left to define somebody with? Their hobbies? Their politics? Their race? Their religion? Well, but be careful with that one, because worship of the written word is another tenet of white supremacy. And to be fair, let's go through all of them now so you can understand why some of these folks are uneasy. Perfectionism, giving undue focus to the shortcomings in someone or their work, or viewing them as personal flaws. Making a mistake is confused with being a mistake. Doing wrong with being wrong, according to a description of the book on the website for the Challenging White Supremacy Workshop. A sense of urgency, prioritizing short-term results without considering long-term implications. For example, sacrificing interests of communities of color in order to win victories for white people. Defensiveness. When people often in power are dismissive of new ideas solely for fear that they might shake things up, the defensiveness of people in power creates an oppressive culture, the description says. Quantity over quality, being results-oriented and diminishing an otherwise sound process if it doesn't produce measurable results. It also goes hand in hand with discomfort with emotion and feelings. Worship of the written word. This idea prioritizes documentation and writing skills rather than the ability to relate to others. It also leads to teaching that there is only one right way to do something. Paternalism, when those already in power think they're the only ones who can or should make decisions. Those with power often don't think it is very important or necessary to understand the viewpoint or experience of those for whom they are making decisions. Either or thinking. Seeing things in terms of good or bad, right or wrong, or black or white. This, quote, results in trying to simplify complex things. For example, believing that poverty is simply a result of lack of education. Power hoarding. Similar to defensiveness, those in power seek to preserve it and see it as something that can't be shared. They may also feel threatened when someone suggests change and assume they have the best interests of the organization at heart. Fear of open conflict. This comes through when someone overemphasizes politeness and equates broaching touchy subjects with being rude. The response is to blame the person for raising the issue rather than to look at the issue which is actually causing the problem. Individualism. This idea is found among people who have little experience or comfort working as part of a team. It can lead to isolation and emphasize competition over cooperation. Progress is bigger, more. Focusing only on the bottom line and tangible growth, progress is an organization which expands or develops the ability to serve more people. Those with this mindset think. Objectivity. This can lead to the belief that there is an ultimate truth and that alternate viewpoints or emotions are bad. It is even inherent in the belief that there is such thing as being objective. Right to comfort. Those in power may believe that they have a right to emotional and psychological comfort while denying the same to those not in power. This also covers cries of reverse racism because that's equating individual acts of unfairness against white people with systemic racism, which daily targets people of color. I could not sit here and go through all of these without fucking losing my mind, so maybe we'll do that for another video if you guys want it. Leave a comment down below. Several recent attendees of the DOE's overarching implicit bias training sessions, mandatory for all, including teachers, have bristled at the program's emphasis on the inherent insidiousness of white culture. White employees who object when accused of harboring deep-seated bias are branded fragile and defensive, one insider who received the training has said. So not only do you not accept the criticism of your ideas, but you shame people with the power, mind you, that if they don't agree, they will be called names? The fuck is this? I thought the high school analogy was a joke. But Carranza said on Monday that such skeptics often don't realize their own biases until they are forced to confront them, and that they are likely the ones who need the training the most. It's good work. It's hard work, Carranza said, and I would hope that anybody that feels that somehow that process is not beneficial to them, I would very respectfully say that they are the ones that need to reflect even harder upon what they believe. What the fuck is wrong with you? You are actually delusional, dude. And the voters who put this guy in power, if any at all, need to seriously think about who they are putting into these positions. But one Manhattan middle school teacher who underwent mandatory implicit bias training in December said she left feeling as though everything she had learned about colorblindedness was being uprooted. Quote, I say they're my students whether they're green, purple, orange, or black, the educator, who asked not to be identified, told the Post. We're being told if you're not recognizing students as African American, Haitian, Puerto Rican, Dominican, etc., you're wrong. It feels like I'm in a dystopian novel where all of a sudden being white is bad. All of a sudden, I'm the enemy. And that's it, isn't it? Not acknowledging someone as being another skin color or another type of person is wrong. Folks, we have a problem. A serious problem. This is not a meme. This is not a joke. It's not a game. It's real life. People like this are in positions of power, and if there is an ounce of sanity left in our respective nations, we have to politically fight tooth and nail to get these politicians democratically removed from their positions and reinstate people who believe in not only treating everyone with respect, regardless of skin tone, but also treating those who disagree with a grace worthy of our respect. But that's all I got for you today. Like always, leave a comment if you disagreed or agreed with me in the section down below. I thank you all for coming out, and I'll see y'all soon.